Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and in Yirtzeh Hashem today we will be learning Daf Mem Beis Amud Aleph. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos. We pick up today on Mem Aleph Amud Beis. I'm going to start reading the Mechaber again, 4 lines up on Mem Aleph Amud Beis. I'm going to read the Mechaber from the beginning of Sif Tes, even though we already did the beginning of Sif Tes, and we did the Mishnah Berurah on the beginning of Sif Tes. But for the sake of continuity, I'm going to read from the beginning of Sif Tes, 4 lines off the bottom, Mem Aleph Amud Beis. Our learning should be a schus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanesunim Batzara Ubashivya Ha'imdim Bein Bayom Ubein Bayabasha Hamakayim Yerachem Aleihem Ve'yitzihem Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afela La'ira Umishibud L'Geula Hashta Bagala Ubizman Kariv and Emar Mein. Our learning should also be a schus refuah shalema for Tzvi ben Leah Miriam, who is in need of Rachamei Shamayim. Okay, so we are continuing to discuss over here the halachas that pertain to somebody who is traveling, and now suddenly Shabbos comes upon him. He got stuck in traffic or what have you, but he was stuck on the road, and now Shabbos is coming, and Shabbos came, and we're trying to figure out what he could do with his wallet, what he could do with other packages. So let's read from the beginning of Sif Tes. The Mechaber said, so we gave different heterim that allow this person to continue traveling, and he has a load, or he has objects that are loaded on his chamor. We discussed in the previous year how exactly you do that without being over on either Shvisas Behemtoi or the lav of Mechamer. I'm not going to go over that again. But now the point is, he was traveling on Shabbos with packages on his chamor. Says the Mechaber, Hegia lachatzer hachitzayna hamishtameres. As soon as he comes into town, and he comes into the first protected chotzer. Now let's realize right away that when we're talking about somebody who is traveling out in the Rishus Harabim, now he comes to a protected chotzer. When he goes into the chotzer is a Rishus HaYochid. So this person was in a Rishus Harabim. Now he's taking an animal with packages on it, and he's bringing it into a Rishus HaYochid. Says the Mechaber, Egia lachatzer achitzayna mishtameres. When you get to this first protected chotzer, noitel me ala chamor kelim hanitolim. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to unload from the chamor any kelim that you have that are nitolim, kelim that you're allowed to handle because they're not muktzah. V'she'enam nitolim. But what do you do if you have objects on the chamor that are not nitolim? You have objects that are muktzah. V'she'enam nitolim mater hasachavolim. So what you'll do is you'll loosen the ropes that are holding these saddlebags or packages to the chamor. So you have kelim on the chamor that you can't directly handle. They're also betiltel, they're muktzah. So how do you get them off the chamor? Says the Mechaber, you're going to loosen the ropes that are tying them onto the chamor. V'hasakim noiflim. And then these sacks that are holding these muktzah kelim will fall down to the ground. Okay, nice eitzah. But says the Mechaber, what do you do if they're delicate kelim? What do you do if they're kelim that are delicate, and if you untie the ropes and let them fall, they'll break? So now you have kelim that are muktzah, so you can't handle them directly. They're delicate, so you can't just loosen the ropes and let them fall. What do you do? Says the Mechaber, let's say the chamor was loaded with delicate glass kelim that happened to be muktzah. Kigoin, for example, shehem kaisais shal makize dam. Let's say these were the glass vials that were used by bloodletters. Now these are delicate glass kelim, but they're also muktzah. Why are they muktzah? Says the Mechaber, she'ein ru'uyim b'Shabbos l'klum, because these don't have any Shabbos usage at all. Lefi shehem mu'usim, they're repulsive. These are glass vials that are literally used to hold blood. These are repulsive kelim. You're not going to use them for a drink, so they have absolutely no Shabbos use. V'im yiplu la'aretz. Now, if you let them just fall down to the ground, yishavru, they're going to break. So now what do? You brought in the animal. The animal has these delicate kelim on them. They're muktzah, so you can't handle them. untie the ropes and let them fall, they're going to smash. What do? Says the Mechaber, Maniach tachteim karim ukisasais. What you could do is, you could take blankets, you could take cushions and pillows, and you could put them down on the ground under the chamor, and then what you do is, you let them off of the chamor, and instead of falling onto the ground and smashing, they'll fall onto the soft cushions, and they'll be cushioned, and they won't break. But the Mechaber says, Vedavka b'masois kitanois. You can only do this with small, lightweight muktzah kelim. Sheyacha l'shamtan mitachtein. You could do this with small, lightweight kelim, so that when these kelim fall onto the pillows or cushions or mattresses that you put on the ground, afterwards you'll be able to pull the pillows or the cushions out from under the muktzah kelim. Aval imhem gedolos. But let's say you have big, heavy packages of delicate muktzah kelim on the chamor. She'ena yachal lishmai takarim mitachtein. Now, if you go and you lay down blankets or pillows on the ground, and you let these heavy packages of delicate muktzah kelim down onto the pillows and the blankets, they're so heavy that you won't be able to pull the pillows or the blankets out from under the heavy packages. Then you're not allowed to do this. Says the Mechaber, Asar lahanicham tachtein. You wouldn't be allowed to place these pillows or cushions down on the ground so that the kelim should go on top of them. Why? Because by doing this, you're going to be over the Issur D'Rabbanan of being mevatel kli mehechanoi. You're going to create a situation where you're taking something that was readily usable on Shabbos. You're taking pillows, blankets, cushions that were not muktzah, that were very usable on Shabbos, and now you're creating a situation where they are no longer going to be usable. Why won't they be usable? Because look what you just did. You just lowered a very heavy muktzah package down onto this cushion. Now what? You can't use the cushion anymore. You can't pull the cushion out from under the kelim because the kelim are too heavy. You can't remove the kelim from the cushion because the kelim are muktzah. So now you took a cushion, you took, let's say, a mattress that's not muktzah, readily usable for Shabbos. Somebody could sleep on it for a Shabbos afternoon nap. But now you put it on the ground, you lowered a heavy package of muktzah kelim off the chamor onto the mattress. The mattress is no longer usable. How are you going to use the mattress? You can't pull the mattress out because the package of muktzah kelim is too heavy, so you can't pull it out. You can't take the package off the mattress because the package is muktzah. So now you will mavatal kli mehechanoi, and the Ramah just reminds us, Pirush, what does it mean to be mavatal kli mehechanoi? Pirush me'atashmish shahaya muchan loi. You had a keli, you had a mattress that was usable on Shabbos, and now it's no longer muchan because it no longer has a Shabbos use. So what do? So now we're back to our problem. You had this big, heavy package of delicate muktzah kelim on the chamor. How do you get it off the chamor? To just untie the ropes and let it fall to the ground, they're going to smash. You can't do that. To lower it down onto cushions, you can't do, because that's bittul keli mehechanoi. So what do? Says the Mechaber, ela parkan b'nacha shelo yishavru. The only yetzer that you're going to have is, you're going to have to lower it very slowly. Maybe untie the ropes, hold on to the ropes, and lower the ropes very slowly down to the ground so that they don't drop and smash. And lastly, the Mechaber says, but there's one thing you shouldn't do. You know what that is? One option that we didn't discuss. Just leave the kelim on the chamor. Says the Mechaber, you can't do that. V'lo yanichem ala behema. You can't leave the packages on the chamor for the duration of Shabbos, mishum tsar balechayim. That would be tsar balechayim, to just leave the chamor loaded with the packages. So that you can't do. Okay, so just to tie it up, what's the halacha that we just learned here in Sif Tes? This person was traveling with his chamor. He got caught on Shabbos while he was traveling. We had all sorts of heterim. We don't want this person, we don't want to put him in a pickle where he's going to take a hefsid merubah. So we're allowing him to travel with the chamor loaded through Rishus Harabim. We gave him the eitzis how he shouldn't be over on Shvisas Behemtoi, how he should not be over on Mechamer, he's going to unload, he's going to reload. We did all that in the previous shiurim. Now he got into town. We're saying that when he gets into town, he has to now unload the animal. How is he going to unload the animal? So if there are kalim on the animal that are not muktzah, no problem. You'll just take the kalim off and you'll unload the animal. But what do you do if you have kalim that are muktzah? So the first thing the Mechaber said was, you have kalim that are not muktzah, untie the ropes, tying them to the chamor, let them fall to the ground. Okay. What do you do if you have delicate kalim that are muktzah? All right. Take a cushion, a non-muktzah mattress, put it on the ground, untie the ropes, let the delicate kalim fall onto the mattress. Says the Mechaber, but you could only do that if after you let the muktzah kalim fall onto the mattress, then you'll be able to pull the mattress out from underneath them. Now, right away, you might have a question in your head. How are you going to pull the mattress out from underneath the muktzah kalim? Doesn't the mattress become a basis? And the Mishnah Berurah is going to tell us, no, it doesn't become a basis. And we'll see a very important rule on basis, why it doesn't become a basis. Having said that, so you're going to let the muktzah kalim fall onto the mattress, then you'll pull the mattress out. But what do you do if these delicate muktzah kalim are very heavy? If the delicate muktzah kalim are very heavy, then you can't let them fall onto a mattress. Why? Because you're going to let them fall onto the mattress, and now you cannot pull the mattress out. You can't pull the mattress out because the kalim are too heavy. You also can't take the kalim off the mattress because the kalim are muktzah. So now you know what you just did? You took a mattress that was muchan, it was prepared for Shabbos use, and now by letting this heavy muktzah package fall onto the mattress, you were mevatel kli mehechanoi, and mevatel kli mehechanoi is an issur d'Rabbanan. We learned previously, either because it's like stira, it's like breaking a keli. You had a keli that was usable, it's no longer usable, or it's like fixing it into place on Shabbos. You're taking something that was movable, now you're creating a situation where it's no longer movable. It's like you built it into its place. That's what we learned here in the Mechaber. Now, we did the first several Mishnah Berurahs over here. We're going to pick up on Mem Aleph Amud Beis, 3 lines off the bottom of the page in the Mishnah Berurah, with Mishnah Berurah Ois Katan Chavav. Dibur HaMaschil Ois Katan Chavav Sheyachol. So the Mechaber said, you could only do this eitzah of allowing the delicate muktzah kalim to fall onto a cushion if they're small and lightweight, so that you could pull the cushion out from underneath them after they fall onto the cushion. Says the Chavetz Chaim. V'loi nesru bitam basis ledavar ha'aser. But don't think, wait a second, how are you going to pull the mattress out? By letting the muktzah kalim fall onto the mattress, doesn't the mattress become a basis ledavar aser? We know basis ledavar aser is aser. When you set up something to be a base and a support for a davar muktzah, then that item, the support, also becomes muktzah. So isn't the mattress now muktzah? Isn't it a basis? Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. Kevin shelo yahayu alein bein hashmashos. You could only create a basis at the outset of Shabbos. Something only becomes a basis if there was a davar muktzah on it by bein hashmashos when Shabbos came in. But if the muktzah object was not on the basis during bein hashmashos, so like in our case, let's say you're unloading the chamor at 11 o'clock in the morning, Shabbos morning. So you're putting the muktzah kalim onto the mattress Shabbos morning. You can't create a basis Shabbos morning. If you create the basis bein hashmashos, it remains muktzah for the entirety of Shabbos, because kevan de iskat soile ben hashmashos, once it's a basis and it's muktzah during ben hashmashos, iskat soile kula yuma, it remains muktzah for the entirety of Shabbos. But you cannot create a basis on Shabbos. So therefore, this is not a basis. And therefore, if they're small, lightweight, delicate kalim, you could pull the mattress out from underneath them. You could pull it out. Now, says the Mishnah Berurah, you do still, l'chayra, have a certain problem over here. We learned earlier that this problem of being mevatel kli mehechanoi, it's not only a problem if you create a situation where the keli is not going to be usable for the rest of Shabbos. It's even a problem if the keli is not going to be usable for 5 minutes. So, if in this case, right, if the kalim that you're dropping onto the mattress are big and heavy, so, okay, we understand. That's a problem of bittul kli mehechanoi, because once the big heavy muktzah kalim land on the mattress, that's it for the rest of Shabbos. The mattress is done for the rest of Shabbos. You can't pull it out because the kalim are too heavy. You can't take the kalim off because they're muktzah. Okay, but even in our case, let's say they're lightweight muktzah kalim. So you're right. You're going to lower these lightweight, delicate muktzah glass kalim onto the mattress. And you're telling me that you're going to be able to pull out the mattress from underneath them, and therefore it's not bittul kli mehechanoi. But the problem is that the halacha of bittul kli mehechanoi applies even if you're mevatel the keli mehechanoi only for a very short amount of time. Even if you're being, for instance, we learned earlier, let's say you put something under a nair. You put a tray under a burning oil lamp to catch things that are falling off the nair. So we said, let's say that little coal at the tip of the wick that's burning. Let's say you put a tray there and it catches it. We said that's a problem. That's bittul keli mehechanoi. You know why? Because the burning coal lands on the tray, and for the next minute, you can't do anything with the tray. You can't shake the coal off, because if you try to, you'll extinguish the coal. And that would be kibui. That would be extinguishing the flame. So for 30 seconds or for a minute, you can't do anything with the tray. Once it burns out, now you could take the tray, you could shake off the ash, and you could use the tray. But we said you can't do this because this would be a problem of mevatel kli mehechanoi. Why? Because for at least 30 seconds or for a minute, you were mevatel this kli mehechanoi. As long as that little coal from the end of the wick is still burning on the tray is immobilized. So for that short amount of time, you're mevatel kli mehechanoi, and we said that that's usher. So asks the Mishnah Berurah over here too. L'chayra, if you lower lightweight, delicate muktzah glass kalim onto a mattress, you're going to be mevatel kli mehechanoi at least for a short amount of time. Why? It seems the reason is because since these are very delicate, it's not a situation where you could just lower the glass kalim onto the mattress and right away yank the mattress out. No, you have to proceed with caution because these are very delicate. So you're going to lower it down, then maybe very gently, you're going to start moving the mattress and you're going to kind of like ease the delicate glass kalim off of the mattress. Says the Mishnah Berurah, l'chayra, that equals being mevatel kli mehechanoi lefi shah. It's at least a temporary mevatel kli mehechanoi, and I would think that would be also. So says the Mishnah Berurah, is cut in Chav Zayin. V'af al gav shekoidem sheyaspik l'shamtam kulam benachas shelo yishavru hakelim. Even though you're going to have to take your time easing these kalim off of the mattress, and therefore you might think it's bittul kli mehechanoi lefi shah, hareim mivutalim mehechanam ba'oisa shah al yedei zeh. L'chayr, for a short amount of time, the mattress is not usable for its intended use. So l'chayra, you're being mevatel kli mehechanoi lefi shah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, afilu hachi hitiru chachamim laseis kain. Nevertheless, the chachamim were matir this. So the Mishnah Berurah is telling you that in this case, the chazal are being matir, being mevatel kli mehechanoi lefi shah. They're being matir, being mevatel kli mehechanoi for a very short amount of time, kedei shelo yiyeh hefsed al yedei hashvira, so that you shouldn't be boxed in to a situation where you're going to have to break your kalim. V'kasar arbe poskim, many poskim write, the dafka kalim sheyesh hefsed meruba b'shvirasan. But this heter to be mevatel kli mehechanoi lefi shah is only when you're dealing with kalim where there's a hefsid meruba, if you're going to let them break. Aval, however, let's take an example where it's not a hefsid meruba. Aval chatichais sechuchis rechavos. Let's say you have sheets of glass. Now these are sheets of glass that are meant to be given to a glazier who's going to cut them into usable sized pieces. So these are raw materials. These are big sheets of glass, and they get cut up into smaller pieces. Says the Mishnah Berurah, chatichais chuchis rechavos, large sheets of glass, she'enon kalim, they're not kalim, They're just raw sheets of glass. Shein hefsid kol kach b'shvirasan. If they break, it's not a big deal. It's not a big hefsid. Because these sheets of glass are actually made to be cut up into smaller pieces. So what if it breaks? So if you have a big 2 foot by 1 foot by 2 foot, I don't know if that's considered big, 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of glass that's made to be cut up into small squares, and it goes ahead and it falls off the chamor and it breaks into two. That's not a hefsid merubah. You're still going to cut it up anyway. So v'les pazerak hefsid mu'it, there's going to be a small amount of hefsid, because if it doesn't break evenly, now you're going to have waste, etc., etc., but it's not a hefsid merubah. In that case, also lahanyach karim tachtein. In that case, you wouldn't be allowed to put a mattress underneath the chamor to catch these sheets of glass. Because when you lower the sheet of glass onto it, you are being mevatel kli mehechanoi lefi shah. For a short amount of time, you're being mevatel kli mehechanoi, and we're not willing to be matter that unless it's a situation of a hefsid merubah. Lefi shah mevatel al kol panim mitashmish al shaitan. V'chein masik amagan avram ledina. The Magen Avram paskins this way: the yesh lahoros, that you should paskin she'ein mevatel kli mehechanoi afilu lefi shah. You're not allowed to be mevatel kli mehechanoi even for a short amount of time. Ela b'makom hefsid merubah, only in the case where we're dealing with hefsid merubah. Or levatel kela mehechanoi l'chol hayoim b'mkom hefsid merubah. How about if you have a case where you want to taka be mevatel kli mehechanoi l'chol yoim? Like this case of the mechaber over here, where you want to go ahead and lower a big heavy package of delicate kalim onto a mattress, and you're going to be mevatel kli mehechanoi for the rest of the day, because you can't pull the mattress out and you can't take the package off because it's muktzah. So you're going to be mevatel kli mehechanoi for the entirety of Shabbos. But it's a case of hefsid merubah. Are you allowed to do that? Halacha l'maisa? Says the Mishnah Berurah, levatel kela mehechanoi l'chol hayoim b'mkom hefsid merubah, yesh matirin v'yesh oisrin. There's a machlokes hapoiskim whether this is mutter or not. V'ayin b'bir halacha dibra maschel l'shamton. Take a look here at this long bir halacha that begins on Mem Aleph Amud Beis, dibra maschel l'shamton. It's a Mishnah Berurah that's beyond the scope of what we do here, but if you're interested in the shaila, it's a very interesting bir halacha. Okay, now we move on to Sif Yud, 3 lines down on Men Beis Amud Aleph. Another case of somebody who's stuck out on the road coming into Shabbos. Says the Mechaber, Chosh chaloi baderech. Again, this person is traveling, and now suddenly Shabbos is upon him. Utfilin beroishoi, and he's wearing tfilin. Oi, or another possible case, Sheyoshiv bebeis hamedrash basodeh. Back in the day, the Batei Midrashim apparently were not located like in the town. The Beis Medrash was out in the Sadeh. The Beis Medrash was out on the outskirts of town. It wasn't in the town. And this fellow is a masmid, and he's in the Beis Medrash, and he went there on Erev Shabbos, and he's sitting in the Beis Medrash wearing his tefillin, and now suddenly Shabbos is upon him. And now suddenly it's Shabbos and he's wearing tefillin. Now we have to stop for a second, and we have to go back to Chelik Aleph, Siman Lamed Aleph. What's wrong with wearing tefillin on Shabbos? Let's analyze this for a second. Why don't we wear tefillin on Shabbos? The reason we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos is because Shabbos is an ois. Shabbos is a sign. Shabbos is something that acts as a sign that we remember, that we're tied to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Ki Shem Hashem Nikra Alecha. We have the Shem Hashem on our heads. Ukeshartam la'ois al yadecha. V'ayu l'taitafais beinenecha. So tefillin is an ois. Shabbos is also an ois. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael as ha-Shabbos. L'asais is ha-Shabbos. L'doyroisam bris ha'olam. Beini l'doyroisam bris ha'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael. Ois hi la'olam. Shabbos is an ois. Ki sheishes yamim as Hashem es ha-shamayim v'es-haaretz. So Shabbos is an ois, and tefillin are an ois. In Siman Lamed Aleph, we learned it's inappropriate to wear tefillin on Shabbos, because Shabbos is its own ois. If you're wearing tefillin on Shabbos, you're denigrating Shabbos, because what you're doing is you're saying Shabbos is an insufficient ois. I need another ois. I need the ois of tefillin. So you're being mevaza Shabbos. That's why we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos. Indeed, we say that if you wear tefillin on Shabbos, l'shem mitzvah, If you wear tefillin on Shabbos in order to fulfill the mitzvah of tefillin, you're being over on Baal Tosef. If you wear tefillin on Shabbos not l'shem mitzvah, then you're not over on Baal Tosef. But like this, we don't wear tefillin on Shabbos. So now, this individual, he was traveling on Shabbos, and he was traveling before Shabbos. He got stuck. Shabbos came in, and he's wearing his tefillin. Or he's in the Bismedrish outside of town, and he's wearing his tefillin, and suddenly Shabbos is upon him. We're going to see in the Mishnah Berurah, to leave his tefillin in the Bismedrish is not an option. The Bismedrish was not considered a makom mishumer. It wasn't a safe place. It was out in the Sadeh. It wasn't safe. So, and the fellow who's traveling on Shabbos, what's he supposed to do? He can't take off his tefillin and leave his tefillin on the road. Whether he leaves his tefillin on the road or he leaves his tefillin in the Bismedrish, they're going to come to Bizayin. So what's he supposed to do with his tefillin? That's the shaila that the Mechaber is addressing here. So the Mechaber says, Chosh chaloi baderech, if it becomes Shabbos while he's on the road, utfillin b'roisha, and he's wearing tefillin, oisha yosha b'beis medrash pasadeh, or he's sitting out in the Bismedrish that's located outside of town, and he's wearing tefillin, the chosh chaloi, and now it's Shabbos, and he can't leave his tefillin there, what should he do? Says the Mechaber, maniach yodai aleihem, he should put his hand over his tefillin. Now he doesn't have to put his hand over the shalyad, because your shalyad is supposed to be covered anyway. Your shel roish is supposed to be exposed. Ki shem Hashem nikru alecha v'yaru mimeka. People are supposed to be able to see your shel roish. Your shel yad is supposed to be closed. But this person should cover up his shel roish with his hand. Maniach yadai aleim ad shemagia lebeisai. He should walk home wearing his tefillin. Now he should have in mind that he's not wearing his tefillin in order to be yotze to the mitzvah. He's wearing his tefillin in order to transport them home. Now he can't carry them home, because to carry them home would be to be maver chayfetz dalad amas berushos harabim. He can't carry his tefillin dalad amas in berushos harabim. That's an issa daraisa of hoitzah. So what do we allow him to do? We tell him wear the tefillin. If you're wearing the tefillin, then the tefillin are like a malbush, they're like a garment or a tachshit. So he's allowed to wear them. Wearing them is not being over on hoitzah. The only problem is that you're not supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos. So fine. So cover up the tefillin with your hand so people shouldn't see that you're wearing tefillin on Shabbos and be choshed that you're doing keneged divrei chazal, that you're wearing tefillin on Shabbos when you're not supposed to. So minich yadei aleim ad shem yagia lebeisai. V'im yesh bayis samach lachayma shenishmarim b'soichai. And if there's a house right when you come into the town, inside the walls of the town, and you have a protected place to put the tefillin, manichan sham, don't wear them all the way to your house. Wear them to the first house in town and put them over there. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Chavches, Chosh chaloi. It became Shabbos. Shabbos came upon this fellow while he was wearing his tefillin. Hainu denase ben hashmoshes. When we say choshcha, choshcha literally means it became dark. What it means is it became the zman of ben hashmoshes. Ben hashmoshes already kicks in all of the Yisurim of Shabbos. So now he can't carry his tefillin to his house. Mipnei Kedusha Shabbos. Once it's Ben Hashmoshes, so now you can't do Hoitzah anymore, so now he can't carry the tefillin home. To leave the tefillin on the road, or to leave the tefillin in the Bismedrish, you can't do, because the tefillin will come to Bizayin. The Bati Midrashis Shalahem Haya Basadeh, their Bati Midrashis were out on the outskirts of town, outside town in the Sadeh, in the fields. Makom She'ein Meshumer Ne'aganovim. It wasn't considered a Makom Meshumer, so the tefillin could come to Bizayin. Okay, and therefore, he tir lechachamim, the chachamim were matir l'nasam alav, to wear them and carry them while you wear them, derech malbush. So now it's not hoitzah. It's like a garment. You're not carrying your shirt. Ad beisay until he gets to his house. However, tzarich lechasoisa, but he has to cover the tefillin up. Shelo yiruhu shehu noisei alav hatefillin b'Shabbos, so that no one should see that he's wearing tefillin on Shabbos, because it's keneged divrei chazal. You're not supposed to wear tefillin on Shabbos because tefillin is an ois and Shabbos is an ois. Weiter. 5 lines down in the Shulchan Aruch Sif Yud Aleph. All right. So we've spoken about somebody who was traveling and he had a purse or a wallet with money, what he should do with his money. We spoke about what to do if he has a chamor and an Eini Yehudi. We spoke about what to do if he only has a chamor. We spoke about what to do if he has a chereshoit of a cotton. Now we go to a slightly different case, and in the Mishnah Berurah we'll understand why it's a different case. At face value, it doesn't seem to be much of a different case. Says the Mechaber Sif Yud Aleph. Hoisa chavilosai munachas al kisefai. Somebody was walking in Rishus Harabim, outside of the town, on Erev Shabbos. Somehow his travels took him a lot longer than he expected, and he's carrying a bundle. He's carrying a load on his shoulder. Person is carrying a load. And now suddenly it's Shabbos. What should he do? Says the Mechaber, Rotz tachteha ad beisai. He should take his package and he should run with it. And he should run where? He should run all the way till he gets to his house. Okay, continues the Mechaber, V'dafka rotz. But when we say run, we mean run. You realize that it's Shabbos already. You don't have to drop your package. Hold your package and run home. But dafka rotz, I'm telling you, run. Avalelech la'at, but to walk slowly, loy. That you can't do. Why? Kaven the less hekera, because if we allow you to walk like normal, you have no heker that you're doing something different because it's Shabbos. Why is that important? Because if you're going to forget, asi lemebad hakira v'hanocha. Now you might come to do an akira and a hanocha on Shabbos. You see, what the Mechaber is telling you is like this. Let's remember what we've already reiterated several times. The Iser Daraisa of HaTorah, carrying something Dalet Amos in Rishus Harabim, has three components. You need an akira. You have to uproot the item that you're carrying from its rest. You have to do an akira on Shabbos. Then you have to transport it 4 amos or more. Then you have to make a hanocha. You have to put it back at rest. So, if it's Shabbos, if you're standing still when Shabbos came in, and you're holding a chayfetz, now, after Shabbos begins, you start walking, that's your akira. The chayfetz was at rest. You were holding it, and you weren't moving. So the chayfetz was at rest. When you start moving, you're making an akira. You're uprooting the chayfetz. Now, if you walk 4 amos or more, you got the middle piece. You transported it 4 amos or more. Now you stop. Now you're making a hanocha. You're putting the chayfetz back at rest. That would be a complete malacha of HaTorah on Shabbos. That would be transporting a chayfetz, Dalet Amos in Rishus Harabim, which is an Issa Daraisa, so long as it has an akira on the front end and a hanocha on the back end. Now this person, we're talking about a guy who was traveling on Erev Shabbos, carrying a package, and he continued traveling into Shabbos. Now, he might have made an akira on Shabbos. Maybe he was standing still when Shabbos started, and he made an akira. And now he's traveling, and he's going to go more than 4 amos. So he's got an akira on the front end. He's got transporting the chayfetz more than 4 amos. But as long as he doesn't have a hanocha on the back end, as long as he doesn't put it down on the back end, he doesn't have a complete Issa Daraisa. Therefore, what the Mechaber says over here is, you were carrying a package when Shabbos began, and now it's Shabbos, and it's a valuable package. We don't want to box you in until you take a hefsid merubah by dropping the package. Run home, and never stop. As long as you don't stop, you don't have a hanacha on the back end. As long as you don't have a hanacha on the back end, you don't have this daraisa of being marvach chayfetz Dalet Amos in Rishus Harabim. But, says the Mechaber, you must run. Because if you don't run, if we allow you to just walk, you're going to forget that what you're doing is an aberration. And you might come to stop. And if you come to stop, you'll have a hanacha. Now you have an akira, a transport, and a hanacha. Now you have a complete malacha daraisa. So again, guy was carrying a package, and now at Shabbos, what should he do? Run with it without stopping until you get home. But for dafka rutz, but you must run. But to walk slowly, loy, that you can't do. Kevin the less akera, because if you walk normally, you're not doing anything that's a hecker to remind you that you're doing this on Shabbos. And then akira v'hanacha, then you might stop. And if you stop, you're going to have an akira and a hanacha. You might even stop without realizing that you stopped. So we tell you run. The running is going to remind you that you can't stop. Aval rotz islay hakera. If you run, you're going to have a hecker. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Chav Tes. Rotz tachter. Run. The reason this is okay is because if you run without stopping, as long as you never stop to take a rest, Lafush means to stop to take a break. Ein kan akira b'Shabbos. You're never going to have an akira. Now, what the Mishnah Berurah is saying is slightly different than what I said. What the Mishnah Berurah is assuming is that you never had an akira because you were walking when Shabbos began. So you didn't have an akira on Shabbos. Your akira was before Shabbos began. You started walking at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Shabbos came in at 5:30. When Shabbos came in, you were walking. You weren't at rest, so you never had an akira. Okay. But what the Mishnah Berurah tells us over here is right away there's one thing you should realize. When we're giving you a heter to run while you're carrying your package on Shabbos, that's only if you don't have an Ein Yehudi to give it to. That's only if you don't. That's only if you don't have a behema that you could put it on. That's only if you don't have a cheirishayt of a cotton to give it to. It's also a situation where you can't do pachas me'arba amos. Maybe there's bad guys around, so you can't take the time to do pachas. Or you're going to have to cross a stream that's more than 4 amos across, so you can't do pachas me'arba amos. What the Mishnah Berurah is saying is, realize, when we're giving you a heter to carry your package in the Rishus HaRabim on Shabbos, it's only if we've exhausted all the other possible heterim that we had until now. You don't have an Ein Yehudi to give it to you, which would just be Amir La'akim. You don't have a behemoth to put it on and then use all the tricks that we learned about to avoid Shvisis Behemtoi and Mechaber. You don't have a Cherishoit or a cotton to give it to. You can't do Pachas B'Arba Amos. If you can't do any of the other tricks that we learned about in Siman Reis Samach Vav, then we're going to be matter that you could run home carrying your package so long as you make sure that you don't have a complete malacha of haitzah because you never have an akira and a hanacha. The zimnin dekoi, the Mechaber said, you must run. You can't walk. Because if you walk, you don't have a heker, that you're doing something different, that you're doing something that's only a heter to do because you're under pressing circumstances and realize that you're carrying something on Shabbos. So you must run, you can't walk. If you walk, you might forget, because then there are times that a person stops without even realizing. But the Mishnah Berurah reminds us about something that I mentioned yesterday, and that is that realize, we're talking over here, we want you to make sure that you're never going to have an akira and a hanacha. And in Mishnah Berurah Ois Cotton Chavtes, the Mishnah Berurah said, the Chalkama Doloi Amad Lafush Ein Kan Akira B'Shabbos. As long as you never stop Lafush. To stop Lafush means to stop to take a break. Remember what we learned yesterday. The only type of stopping that constitutes a hanacha is when you stop Lafush, when you stop to rest. But if you stop Lekatef, if you stop to adjust your load, that doesn't constitute a hanacha. That doesn't constitute stopping. So you don't have a hanacha, and when you start going again, you don't have an akira. That's what the Mishnah Berurah is saying over here. The Mishnah Berurah is saying, a nice cut lamid, the zimnin dekoi. Our big worry over here is you must run, because if we allow you to walk, you might stop. And then if you might stop, you're going to create a new akira. And if you create a new akira, then you might do a hanacha. You might have put together an akira and a hanacha and have a complete malacha of haitzah. Reminds the Mishnah Berurah, v'im amad l'sakin hamasa, but if you're stopping lekatef, if you're stopping to adjust your load, then potter, that would be potter anyway, t'zeloi mikri hanacha, because that's not called making a hanacha. Ice cut lamed aleph. If you run, it's okay because then you have a hekera. David shinoi b'halichasai, since you're traveling in an abnormal way, v'ayidei ken yiskar Shabbos. Remember that it's Shabbos for lo yamid. Okay, a little bit weiter. Says the Mechaber weiter here in Sif Yud Aleph. We are 1, 2, 3, 4 lines off the bottom near the beginning of the line. Okay, so you're running with your package. Now you get home. Now, remember, we can't allow you to make a hanacha. We're afraid that you might have made an akira at some point. So we don't want you to make a hanacha. If you make a hanacha, you might have an akira on the front end, transport in the middle, and a hanacha on the back end. You might be over Haitzah Daraisa. Says the Mechaber. Now, just one thing. We mentioned this yesterday. The nature is that when you come to your house, you got to stop for a second. You know why? Because you got to open the door. Even when you come to your chutzner, we're assuming that your chutzner has a gate. So you're running in the Rishus HaRabim carrying your package. If you make a hanacha, you're at risk that you might complete the malacha of Haitzah. But what are you going to do when you get to the gate? What are you going to do when you get to the door? You have to stop. Says the Mechaber, V'chimata lebeisei, when you get to the door, when you get to the house, ki heichi deloi koi porta. We want to make sure that you don't stop for a second. Now, I want to be very careful because what I just said over here could have been a little misleading. What we're really afraid of over here is, you see, you were careful when you were in Rishus HaRabim, you were careful not to make an akira. Because again, you started carrying this package on Erev Shabbos, and you kept on traveling, so you never made an akira, l'chayra, right? So even if you make a hanacha in the Rishus HaRabim, you really don't have a problem, because we're assuming that you never had an akira on Shabbos on the front end. But the problem is, if you're going to make a hanacha now in Rishus HaRabim, when you get to your front door, what's going to happen? Picture this, right? You get to your front door, you stop, because you got to take your keys out, and you got to unlock the door, and you got to get in. So now you made a hanacha in the Rishus HaRabim. Now you open up the door. What's the next step? You're going to walk in. When you start to walk in, you're going to make an akira in Rishus HaRabim, when you start walking. Then you're going to go inside, and you're going to make a hanacha in Rishus HaYachid. Akira in Rishus HaRabim. Then you transfer the chayfetz from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaYachid. Then you make a hanacha in Rishus HaYachid. Now you have the Yesod Daraisa of Haitzah, of moving something from Rishus HaRabim into Rishus HaYachid. So says the Mechaber like this. It's very nice. As far as transporting the chayfetz, $1 amis or more in Rishus HaRabim, you've avoided that. How did you avoid that? Because you were walking with the chayfetz when Shabbos started. So your akira was on Erev Shabbos. So you didn't have an akira on the front end. You walked a mile. You ran, because we told you should run home. So you ran a mile in Rishus HaRabim. Even if you stop at some point in Rishus HaRabim, you don't have a complete malacha, because you didn't have an akira on the front end. The problem would be if you run for a mile and then stop, then start running again and run another mile in Rishus HaRabim, and then stop, then you would have an akira and a hanacha in Rishus HaRabim. But we avoided that. How did we avoid that? We told you have to run. Why did we tell you have to run? So that you should realize that you should never stop. So you should never have a hanacha and a new akira. That's what we said. But now there's a new problem. Forget transporting $1 amas or more in Rishus HaRabim. Now the problem is you're going to run, and you're going to get home. What's going to happen when you get home? When you get home, you're going to stop so that you can unlock the door. Where are you? You're in Rishus HaRabim. So you're going to stop in Rishus HaRabim. All right, you're going to unlock the door. Now you're going to walk. What are you doing? You're making an akira. Where are you making that akira? In Rishus HaRabim. Now you're going to take the chayvitz that you're holding, and you're going to bring it into Rishus HaYachid. So you had an akira in Rishus HaRabim. Now you're transferring a chayfetz from Rishus HaRabim into Rishus HaYachid, and now you're going to put it down. You're going to make a hanacha in Rishus HaYachid. So you have an akira in Rishus HaRabim, you go into Rishus HaYachid, and you have a hanacha in Rishus HaYachid. Boom, you have an Yesod Daraisa of Haitzah. So says the Mechaber, how do you avoid that? Says the Mechaber, V'chimata lebeisei, when you get home, ki heichi deloi koi porta, to make sure that you don't stop for a second outside the door, the ishtakach, and forget to kamayel mirishus harabim l'rishus hayachid, that you're transferring a chayfetz from rishus harabim into rishus hayachid with an akira in rishus harabim and a hanach in rishus hayachid. In order to avoid this problem, what should you do? Says the Mechaber, you know what you should do? You should stop by the front door, unlock the front door, but then you shouldn't walk with the chayfetz inside and make a hanacha. Instead, what you should do is zoyrik la kila'achar yad, throw the chayfetz into the house in an abnormal way. Throw the chayfetz into the house using a shinui. Dahainu shaloi kederech zrika. Don't do it in the normal way. Kigoin mikseifav ula'achayrav. Turn around and lower the package off of your back into the Rishus HaYachid. So again, to be clear, the Mechaber understood that you're going to have a problem. You're going to stop in Rishus HaRabim right outside your front door. And then you're going to take the chayfetz inside to Rishus HaYachid, and then you're going to make a hanacha. That's a problem. How do you avoid it? I'll tell you how you avoid it. You stop by the front door, but instead of stopping by the front door, unlocking the front door, walking inside and making a hanacha, you don't do that. You stop by the front door, you open the door, and then you cast off the package in an abnormal way, and you throw it into Rishus HaYachid in an abnormal way. So the chayfetz is going to go into Rishus HaYachid, it's going to land in Rishus HaYachid, there's going to be a hanacha in Rishus HaYachid, but it's going to be done with a shinoi. And since it's done with a shinoi, this is not an issa daraisa of haitzah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, ice cotton, limud beis. Kalach yad, you should throw the package in an abnormal way. What does this mean? Dahainu shemahapach achayrav klape achotzer. You should turn your back to the chotzer, v'zarkoi mikseifav, and throw it off your shoulder. Now the Mishnah Berurah says that you should turn your back to the chotzer and throw it in off your shoulder. He's not talking about when you get to your house. He's talking about when you get to the gate of your chotzer. Same problem. You get to the gate of your chotzer, you're in Rishus HaRabim, you got to stop to unlock the gate. So stop, unlock the gate, right? And then put your back to the entrance to the chotzer so that the gate to the chotzer is behind you, and cast off the package into the Rishus HaYachid of the chotzer. Okay, let's do a little bit more over here. 3 lines off the bottom near the end of the line in the Shulchan Aruch, Sif Yud Beis. Yesh Oimrim, there are those that say the dafka b'chavila he tiru lasois kain avaloi bekisoi. I mentioned at the beginning of the previous Sif, we spoke about somebody who stuck out Rishus HaRabim, he's carrying a wallet, he's carrying a purse. Now, suddenly in Sif Yud Aleph, we're talking about somebody who's carrying a package. What's the difference between the package and the kiss? Says the Mechaber in Sif Yud Beis, Yesh Oimrim, the dafka b'chavila he tiru lasois kain avaloi bekisoi. There are those Rishonim that say that this heter of Sif Yud Aleph, where we allow you to run through the Rishus HaRabim while you're carrying your package, that's only a heter while you're carrying your package. We don't give this heter to carry your purse. You're stuck traveling in Rishus HaRabim with your purse, so you had a heter to give it to a guy, you had a heter to put it on a chamar, you had a heter to give it to a cherushayt of a cotton, you had a heter to carry it pachas midal ramas, but we're not going to give you the heter to hold on to the purse and run with the purse through Rishus HaRabim and run home and then throw it in klachayad. That heter we're not going to give you by a purse. But there are those that say that the same way you have this heter by a package, you have this heter by a purse also. What's the backstory here? Says the Mishnah Berurah's Kat Lamed Gimel. There are those that say the dafka b'chavila, we only give you this heter by a package, shehi kveda, because the package is heavy, vein derech lorutz b'masa kaved. It would be abnormal to run through the Rishus HaRabim carrying a heavy package. And therefore, v'islei hakera. Running through the Rishus HaRabim carrying a heavy package, that creates a heker. Since it creates a heker, we're not afraid that you're going to stop. You're not going to stop in the Rishus HaRabim and make a new akira. We have an effective heker. Aval b'kis shehu kal, but a light purse ain't heker baritza. There's no heker when you run carrying a purse, and therefore you might forget yourself, you might stop in the Rishus HaRabim, then start going again, which is going to mean you start making a new akira, and then you might make a hanacha, and then you might be over on issa daraisa. And then Oiskat Lamed, but there are those who are din bekisai. There are those that say that you could do this heter with the wallet also. If you don't have a guy, you don't have a chamar, you don't have a cherushayt of a cotton, you can't do pachas with your wallet or your purse. So this same heter, you could run through the Rishus HaRabim holding your purse. Do din bekisai. But that's only if you don't have the guy, the chamar, the chashu, or you can't do pachas. V'hamekel ki yeshayrim lo hefsid. If you make it like this, yeshayrim lo hefsid. V'kasav amagen Avram b'shem hashilta gibarim deledidan deleslan rishus harabim. We who paskin that we don't really have real rishus harabims nowadays because they're not roads that 600,000 people travel on. Efshel l'kuli al mashari b'chalinyan. Could be everybody would be maskim that even with the purse you could use this heter of running through the rishus harabim. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The schus of limud HaTorah should be making against Klal Yisrael. The Rosh Hashanah should send Yeshua's first parashat sheduchim to all those in need. We should be zoichet to see the BS Tzedek b'mher of Yameinu. Amen. Be well.